If you're someone in your late 20s and into your 30s, chances are your introduction to video games came on a Nintendo system. Unless you were on the Sega side of the console war, in which, well, my condolences. Nintendo has built up a large loyal fan base in the past 2 decades, but in the last couple of years, that loyalty has been severely tested. From ill-received consoles, unfulfilling games, bad ideas, threatening legal action on anyone who wants to indulge their nostalgia, they've kind of really been putting the hammer down. So on this episode of Downloadable Content, we ask, what the fuck, Nintendo? Listen in. Next. Welcome to Downloadable Content. I am Brian, and once again we have Ron back from his several episode hiatus.
Hey everyone. Nice to have a little vacation after being on for 75 or so.
Yeah, and I did have a couple. You had the summer off, just taking a break, doing what you do. Probably
trying to enjoy the sun, then realizing that, oh wait, I'm actually reflecting more light than I'm taking in.
Yeah, it's like, wait a minute, Ron, you and I are both gamers and art majors. Sunlight's evil.
Yeah. I'm acting more like a suntan reflecting thingy than actually suntanning myself, so that didn't work out too well.
You step outside, half of Chicago is blind. It's like, ah!
Yeah. It's like being next to the bean all over again.
So, welcome back. Here we are in the fall, going back to, yes, back indoors where I'm safe.
Yeah, where it's nice and warm, and I don't have to worry about this shitty weather.
Yeah, and now we're back in the cool temperatures, leaves are changing, apples are being picked. It's a wonderful time. But yes, on this episode, we are going to talk and basically rant and maybe defend Nintendo a little bit. But before we dive into all of that, just want to let you guys know, every single episode of Downloadable Content can be found on our website, dlcpodcast.com. Find every single episode, find out when we are recording future episodes, you get all the dates, topics there. You can let us know, give us ideas, tell us if you want to be on an episode, use the feedback button, let us know how we're doing. Any and all feedback is appreciated. But yes, it's all there. www.dlcpodcast.com. So, with that, since it's just Ron and I today, if we had more people on, I'm sure this would easily become, approaching a 3-hour episode. But we'll try to not just explode and Lewis Black all over the place.
We'll probably try and fail, to be completely honest, but we'll still try.
Yeah, we'll try. We'll put in the effort.
Yeah.
That's all we can do. So, I think a good place to start is probably their most recent console, which is the Wii U.
Yeah.
So let's start with that.
Yeah. Like a decent the idea behind it sounds solid. Like, you have a console, and then you have basically a tablet that doubles as your controller, and you can get some neat, cool little interactions, like accessing the menu for certain games, or even playing the game on the tablet if your TV is being used. Like, hey, that's kind of cool. It's a little cumbersome, but it's still a decent concept, and probably could have had probably had several years of life expectancy to it The only problem is they released it literally a year before the PS4 and the Xbox One came out.
Yeah, and because of that, it really made me feel, at least, that the Wii U was basically Nintendo trying to catch up.
Oh, it was. They were trying to catch up to the PS3 and the 360.
Yes,
and
they were.
And by that point in time, it was basically just them catching up to the PS3 because the 360 had already met its hardware limitations, and they were just trying to catch up to Sony because Sony, like, this is going to be a complicated. It's going to be like Sony basically took their lumps for the first 3 years of the PS3, knowing that it wasn't going to sell too well, and just expected the hardware to carry it, which it did.
It did. I mean, and after a few good price drops as well, because I mean, remember, $500, $600 for a PS3, only the ones with real money to burn could drop that sort of cash. So
yeah.
And for the idea, I mean, yes, this is the Wii U is Nintendo's very first console that is capable of HD
it's
resolution.
Like, it's not like it's the very first one, but and
meanwhile, Sony and Microsoft had already had a pretty substantial head start.
Yeah, but at the time it was 720p. Now it's 1080p. And now we're starting to talk about 1440 and 2K resolutions, which don't get me started on that.
Yeah, 4 million P graphics.
Yeah, there's more P's than there are penises in Tennessee.
Yeah, so very good. And the idea was pretty sound. I mean, hey, it's like, okay, you have this tablet sort of controller that, as you said, you could play your games on it if you were in a single TV household,
which do exist, and
yes, they do.
They do exist. I mean, these are like households that probably don't have as much disposable income as other houses. They have a limited budget. You could. I mean, the Wii U was $300 at launch.
Yep.
And that's a reasonable price point.
It's still the cheapest of the bunch.
Yeah. And, like, you could play your Wii games on it, too, because it had that backwards compatibility.
Yes.
But then you start playing it, and then you realize there's literally only 2 games on here worth playing.
And that leads into the next point of criticism, was that third-party support was pretty much obliterated.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it's not... There's a ring of truth to, we joke, kind of saying on downloadable content that and this started back in the days of the Wii, where the only company that could make a good game for the Wii, and likewise the Wii U, is Nintendo. Yeah. Third party looks at that and goes, huh?
Motion controls, tablet gaming controller? What the hell is this shit?
I think with the exception of Ubisoft, it seems like no one else wanted to go near it.
Like, and part of the issue was that a lot of the third-party games that came out within the first few months of the Wii U's release were ports of games that came out 3 or 4 years ago. You had BioShock, you had Arkham City, you had... What else came out?
BioShock got a Wii release?
No, what's BioShock? It was like Arkham City, Mass Effect. I'm sorry, Mass Effect.
I was gonna say, I'm like, holy... I missed that memo.
I thought BioShock was on there. My mistake. And I think it was Mass Effect I was thinking of. Because I know like Arkham City was like one of the big ones.
Yes.
But basically, like, the point I'm trying to prove is it was all ports of games that came out like 2 or 3 or 4 years ago that could easily get the conversion over because that technology system stuff was all designed for the PS3 and the 360, and you can easily port over that and just kind of ignore the controller gimmick. Because if we're being completely honest, that's what it is. Though it was a gimmick. It was a solid idea, but there was no substance or anything to follow through on it.
And in this particular instance, I mean, again, I still don't own one, and I am that type of person that will, dutifully and faithfully, this is the first Nintendo console I have never owned.
Yeah, same here.
I've had in my life all the other Nintendo consoles except this one, because even without the third-party support, the first-party games, which is Nintendo's bread and butter, have been very few and very far between.
Yeah. So, just general things I'm looking at here, right? So I'm just looking, literally Google Wii U games list. Like, the games on here that I want to play. There's Super Smash Bros. 4. Splatoon, I've heard, is actually pretty good. Mario Kart 8's on there. And then there's Bayonetta 2. And after that, there's Donkey Kong, I guess, if you want to play Donkey Kong, which is, Donkey Kong's a fine game, don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
And Xenoblade Chronicles X.
So
that's
4
or 5 games. One of which, and the only one that's not that's not a Nintendo game is Xenoblade. It's made by
Bayonetta is also.
Yeah, Bayonetta. That might no, is it? I thought Bayonetta got bought out by Nintendo specifically for this purpose.
I'm looking
now.
Yeah.
I'm looking now. Let's see.
Platinum Games.
Platinum Games, and I don't know who owns them. And Monolith Soft made Xenoblade Chronicles X. So you have a JRPG, you've got shoot 'em up, you've got fighting game, you've got another shoot 'em up, but only as like a kid's game. And then you have a platformer, Donkey Kong. 5 games, and everything else is all rehashing. It's Super Mario World.
Yeah, I was gonna say you didn't even mention
Super Mario Maker.
Yeah. Super Mario Maker, or Super Mario 3D World, or Super Mario Brothers U, or
Mario Kart 8.
Yeah, you did mention that. So, note, Metroid is absent from that list because there is no.
Yeah, there's no Metroid. Nintendo caring about its Metroid franchise. Surely you jest.
Yeah. There's not even a major Zelda title.
The only Zelda is a port of Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. Breath of the Wild, which was supposed to be a release. It was supposed to be a release game for the Wii U. When it was first introduced, way back in E3, 2012, it was supposed to be a freaking... It is not out, and there's a very high likelihood it's going to be a release game for the Nintendo NX.
If that even exists.
Yeah, because the supposed release date of Breath of the Wild was supposed to be this fall, this winter, got pushed back to 2017.
Well,
I think.
Of course. So Nintendo basically, they released the Wii U and then kind of did nothing with it.
Yeah.
And as a result, this console has floundered.
I don't know if floundered is... I think down arrival would be probably a better terminology.
This console is on pace to be the worst-selling Nintendo console in its history.
Yeah. Does not surprise me in the least. And it's not like the hardware is bad. It's outdated, I would say. It's basically a slightly better version of a PS3 if you look at the hardware specs. And the PS3, until last year, basically was still being sold. So...
And now by this point, I think we as gamers, I'm talking about, all of us, who have rejected the motion control experiment.
Yeah. It works fine for the Wii, for the first Wii, because it was a cool little concept.
Yep.
There were some interesting things that could have been done with it. But again, no third-party developer ever utilized it.
Not a one.
It was all... the closest I can think of is the port of Okami. using the Wii remote as the actual paintbrush.
And so now we have a console that is basically, Nintendo is basically considered this dead. You know, they are not really doing anything at all with it. I mean, yeah, they're doing the whole amiibo thing, but in terms of new games,
they can do amiibos with the NX as well. It's
yeah, this is dead to them. The marketing was shit, and their insistence on trying to push the motion control it finally. We as a culture rejected that. Even Microsoft finally,
gave up the Kinect. Yeah,
even Microsoft finally said, you know what? Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, the Wii was fine attempting it, and back then it was such a widely different change compared to at the time. You had the PS2 and the 360, because the PS3 had just come out and was still $600, and I didn't know anyone that didn't have a PS3 until the first price drop.
Yeah, and it was just. Nintendo, I think, had a golden opportunity, but I think they blew it. And also, with its marketing, too many people thought that the Wii U was just simply like an attachment. Or it's not like Sony, which has clear PlayStation 1, 2,
3,
3, 4. We had Wii and Wii U, and because Nintendo has had a history of loving peripherals.
Yep.
A lot of people who aren't knowledgeable or aren't in the know so much went like, "Oh, is that just something you plug into your Wii?"
Yeah, this controller tablet thing looks kind of interesting. How hook this up to my Wii? And it's like, oh, you child, you naive little child. Even though you're probably like a 55-year-old like mother or father that's trying to get this for their kid who has a Wii.
So, so that is one sort of, strike. And, and the thing is, we wanted the Wii U to be successful, but Nintendo's total lack of anything regarding this, just like, okay.
I mean, there are some good games on there. The problem, too, is that by and large, most of them are 5 to 10 hour experiences. You can sit down and play them over a weekend or one long session, and you're done with them. Very few have any sort of replayability or multiple hour experiences. And the ones that do, i.e. Super Smash Bros. And Super Mario Maker, require you to have online capabilities. And strike 2 against Nintendo, they're still trying to figure out how the internet works.
That's a nice segue on my notes here, because that I was leading up to that. Nintendo is, they're only just now starting to take their first real baby steps into this thing called online.
Yeah. Like, babies first downloadable content. Babies first ported video games. Like, the Nintendo store only now, I think, has figured out that, hey, maybe if we tie, like, the name to an account, then some of these games that they have bought on the Wii can get ported over to the Wii U, and we can just, like, have it on the Wii U for them. We don't have to charge them again.
Right.
Even though previously, I'm pretty sure they did.
Oh yeah, before that it was before that any downloaded game was tied to the console. So if that console got lost or broken or stolen,
or resold,
sucks to be you. You have to rebuy all those games again.
Yeah, and then it's just like I'm spending $10, $20, $15 on Super Metroid
Which is really, actually, at this point, the only reason why I have not, sold my Wii. Because for me, one of the biggest draws when I bought the Wii was the Virtual Console.
Yeah.
And...
Like the Virtual Console, people who don't know this, when the Wii came out, the one of their big selling points was the virtual console. This thing that can let you go. You go into the Nintendo store and you spend Nintendo Bitcoins, whatever the hell they're called.
Wii Shop credits, I remember.
Yeah, Wii Shop credits. It was like $20 for 1,600 credits or something like
no,
that.
It was 2,000 credits for $20. So
it was a 1-to-1 ratio, basically.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So basically, you pop in like $20 or $30, and you get Super Metroid, you get Super Mario Brothers, you get
Super Mario World, Link to the Past.
Yeah, like a lot of the Nintendo
Ocarina of Time. Yeah.
Yeah, like you get the Ocarina of Time on your Wii. This was before the Wii update.
3DS.
Yeah, for 3DS.
And yeah,
and it was just like fantastic that this console does, like, even if I don't like the motion control games, I just plug in the classic controller, which is another peripheral that's cost $20 or $30, into my Wii controller, and then I just start playing Super Metroid, or I start playing Ocarina of Time, or I start playing Link to the Past, or I start playing Mario Brothers, and then I get to enjoy the console more. And then it ended up being that, it's tied to the console. There is no account name. If I sell the Wii, like some people did when they went from the Wii to the Wii U, all those games you just bought got thrown out with your Wii.
Yep. And so that's kind of why I haven't gotten rid of my Wii. That's the biggest reason at this point. It's because I have a lot of purchases I got on the Virtual Console. I don't want to give it up.
And back to the Wii again. Another issue is lack of third-party support. No one wanted to mess with the motion controls, and no one wants to mess with the tablet.
But the online capabilities, it's, for years we have been wanting Nintendo to have some form of legal emulation.
Yeah.
Because, I have NES and Super Nintendo and N64 emulators. I know, disclaimer, bullshit.
Yeah, we have them because it's the only way we can play these games sometimes.
Yeah, especially if you don't have the original consoles anymore.
Yeah, like I'm lucky enough that I have the consoles and the cartridges still, but I still use the emulators for the simple fact that it's easier for me to play it on my computer than to hook it up to a TV. Because holy shit, have you looked at trying to hook up a Super Nintendo to a modern day TV?
Also save states.
Yeah, that too.
I don't know if that 20-year-old Chrono Trigger cartridge can still hold a save.
Well, that's easy enough to replace. There's actually just a battery in the
yeah, there is.
Like that, if you can find the thing to unscrew it, which is also a peripheral that you have to spend $20 or $30 on, that you can unscrew it and then replace the battery and put in a new one, and then it'd be good as new.
But back to the online thing. Okay. Nintendo is still very, very strictly adhering to its traditional market of consoles.
Yeah.
And again, only very recently are they taking their first baby steps out into the larger world. I mean, we have Pokemon Go, which, yes, I know that's not made by Nintendo.
That's Niantic, and Splatoon would probably be the better example. It is.
Yep.
There is a single player. There's a single player
MOBA. Yep.
Like offline game mode, but it's by and large a shoot 'em up kids MOBA where you're shooting paint at people instead of bullets.
We've got Super Mario Run in development for the iOS, which is Nintendo's real first true step into the mobile market.
Nintendo is letting cell phone people get access to Super Mario so they can play Super Mario on your cell phone. That's iOS and Android, I believe.
But this is something that Sony and Microsoft have been doing for years. I think Sony has set up PlayStation Now, where you can play games on your PC.
Yeah, yes. If there's a
It's a monthly subscription. It's kind of
Yes.
like PlayStation Netflix.
Yeah.
Or if you want to use a really old example, Sega Channel.
Yeah. Dear God, that Brian with the Wayback Machines in 1993.
You know, Sega Sega came up with some really, really good shit. They just happen to be at times, so far ahead of itself that only now we're catching up. So,
Yeah, like, people, you think we're joking. Look up Sega Channel. You could literally, for $5 a month, through your cable subscription, play any Sega Genesis game on your TV.
I don't remember the cost of it, but yeah, it was just.
I think it was like $5 or $10. It was cheap.
1993. I was 8 years old. I wasn't paying any bills yet, but it was this peripheral that hooked up to your Sega Genesis, and you hooked it up through your coaxial cable connection, and you turn on this Genesis and this little peripheral, and you are taken to. It's called the Sega Channel, and every 2 weeks you got a fresh new library of games. It was the first actual game streaming program.
Yeah, like, this is in 1993, people. Clinton was just elected president. We were still trying to figure out what the hell the internet is. And you already have a streaming game service.
Yeah, Sega invented the first streaming game service. So now when people are talking about how, PlayStation Now, and now you can play, Xbox games on your PC as this new and exciting thing, I have to laugh because I remember the Sega Channel. I'm like, Sega beat you to it.
Yeah, and honestly, Sega was so far ahead of its own time, it's insane. The Sega Channel, by and large, pretty much everything related to the Dreamcast.
So you have PlayStation Now, which is again basically PlayStation Channel, but on your PC.
Yep.
You can play Xbox games on your PC. That's
if you have Windows 10, it's specifically Windows 10. We need to make that distinction. It's not for Windows 7 or Windows 8.
That you are correct, but that's a thing now. And so now it's like, okay, even Sony and Microsoft have now realized how big the PC gaming market is. Your move, Nintendo.
Yeah, and what do? They find the one guy who made a port of Metroid 2 that made it look pretty decent. For those who don't know, Metroid 2 got released on the Game Boy.
Yep, I have it.
Way back in 1990.
I still have it.
Yeah, and then you think about the complex gameplay related to Metroid. It literally got boiled down to jump and shoot and using the D-pad just for angling your shot. That was literally it. And it was still a pretty solid game. Difficult as hell, but again, that's Nintendo hard for you back in 1991. Some guy made a port, paid people to make new music and new graphics and new backgrounds, and the only things he really used was the actual image of a Metroid, Samus's Metroid Zero Mission suit, how it looked and stuff like that, and the normal slew of upgrades for the Metroid game, so your Wave Beam and your Speed Booster and stuff like that. And within 24 hours, they said, hey, Nintendo issued a thing saying, hey, you shouldn't do this. And then 48 hours after that, issued a DMCA.
Yeah, cease and desist letter. So yeah. Hold on to that thought, though, because I'm moving that to the second half.
Oh, okay.
We'll get to Nintendo's legal fuckery.
Legal fuckery is in a bit? Okay.
I wasn't quite finished yet with the online thing.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, continue.
so steering us back a bit. It is no secret that us older gamers who've grown up on Nintendo consoles want a virtual console-like thing on our PCs.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have.
We want to have some form of legal emulation the way the other companies have been able to do. You know,
like we're more than willing to pay money. Case in point, the PlayStation Now and then the Microsoft's whatever the fuck it's called.
I think it's Xbox Anytime. I think it's called.
Yeah. So again, exactly whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah, whatever it's called. You know. And this is even prevalent on Steam, for example. Sega has put its Genesis classics, like 60 of them, on Steam.
Like $10 or $15. It's really we're more than willing to give you our money, but you have to put out the effort and invest like a tiny bit of iota of time and money on your side for us to give you our money. It shouldn't even be that hard. I mean, you set up literally like a bank of servers of access and be like, okay, here's all the generic data for all these like ISO files for all the games from our NES and Super Nintendo and Nintendo 64 games, and then you literally just give us $5 or give us $10 a month, and you get access to all those games, and you play it through this very simple program that all you can do is you don't even need to use a controller. You can use your keyboard and mouse, which would be difficult to do, but then you just plug in any sort of controller that you find, or even just have a PS3 or PS4 controller plugged into your PC, and then there you go.
I will say this: it is kind of feels a little odd playing like Sonic the Hedgehog on an Xbox 360 controller. I mean, it feels great. It doesn't feel clunky or out of place or anything like that. Yeah. It feels pretty smooth and natural. But at the same,
it's just the dystopian future of Sony playing a Sony game on a Microsoft controller.
Yeah. Then now you're playing a Nintendo game on a Microsoft platform. Using a
Sony controller.
Yeah, it's like, but can you imagine the Scrooge McDuck piles of money that Nintendo would make if
about as much money as they made when the Wii first came out.
Yeah, that if Nintendo basically went to Valve and be like, okay, here's a we're going to let you...
Here's our library for the first 3 consoles. You guys figure out how to make this work, and we'll give you a cut of the profit.
Yeah.
Valve wouldn't even care what the percentage was. It could be like it could be little pennies under the dollar, and they'd be like, "Good, sold."
Yeah, just done.
Where do we sign?
Yeah, basically. And Ben and I were talking about this just the other day. It's like, yeah, here, Valve will let you have access. Here's legacy hardware. We'll let you put these games out on Steam. You know how many? And Ben and I both agreed. Like, if Nintendo and Valve were to work out that sort of thing, kind of the same way that Sega has done. Sega has put a lot of its classic Genesis titles on Steam, and I saw that on the Steam sale, and I just threw money at my monitor. It was just
like to be fair, it's partially because of the fact that Sega is really, really hurting for money. They need any sort of monetary income they can get.
Well, yes, so because they keep pimping Sonic, but
yeah, and that's part of the reason. But still, I have to imagine that Sega's made loads of money, a lot more than they ever would have if they tried to release them as a disc of here's 80 Sega games, which they've
done. I mean,
which they've done too.
You can buy. They keep putting out on occasion. I have for the PS3 like the Ultimate Genesis Collection, which has like 40 something games on it, and
yeah.
But I was just like, the PC market is huge now. I mean, it was always big, but now that we have this era of video games where we don't really have exclusive titles anymore, and they're being released everywhere. It's like, why
everywhere
not?
And everything. Why not? It's like, by and large, there's very few games getting released that are exclusive, and by exclusive, I literally mean only on this console. You will never find it anywhere else. There is only one place to play it, and it's on this console. There's Tomb Raider. Yeah. And then there's all the Nintendo games. Like, almost every single Nintendo game. Your Zelda, your Mario, your Super Smash Brothers, it's gonna be on a Nintendo console.
And I think that you can get away with putting definitely the Nintendo games and maybe even a lot of Super Nintendo games on tablets.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't require a lot of processing power. Their control schemes are not complex. I think you could get away with that easily.
They don't. If memory serves,
I mean, Square has been pimping out. How many versions of Final Fantasy 1 do we have now?
How many versions of Final Fantasy 4, 5? How many versions of 4 and 6 do we have available on your Android or iOS or Steam? Even oh my God, there's like 2 or 3 different versions of Final Fantasy 4 on Steam.
So it can be done, and that's a problem. I mean, we want so badly to give Nintendo money, especially now also in this age era of where nostalgia is fucking king.
Oh my God, there's a goddamn Power Rangers movie coming out in 2017.
So Legends of the Hidden Temple as well. But
yeah.
So you have indie developers which are taking advantage of the nostalgia train.
Yeah.
You have Nintendo's going to be putting out the mini NES, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, it's not even them making it. They license a third-party company to make it, and they're getting a cut of the profits. But it's literally, people who don't know what this is, it's literally a box that's little more than a hard drive, like a flash memory, plus enough computing power to let you display whatever game
on HD.
On HD, which is not that hard. Believe me, it's not that hard. And you get 20 or 30 games for like $30.
Mini NES. I'll take a look at that.
But it's literally like for those who don't know, it looks like the freaking like TV guide or TV channel like dinky little like Atari controller that you plug into your TV, and you get like 50 Atari games to play on your TV, and it's this like as seen on TV, complete with 70s and 80s fanfare.
30 games.
Yeah, 30 games for
60. Yeah,
30 games for $60. You get 30 games for $60.
All in HD.
By that they basically just mean they made it so that you can play Nintendo the NES games on a 1080p TV for widescreen purposes.
And it even comes with it's gonna have the NES controller. And
yeah. It's a USB though, right? It's not even USB. It's some sort of like weirdly shaped thing that you plug into the mini
proprietary.
NES.
Yeah,
it's a proprietary plug so that you can't use an NES controller on your PC.
Yep.
Because people would do that. And I know people would do that for the authentic Nintendo experience.
Yeah, I have an NES USB controller for when I use my NES emulator.
Yeah.
Because I'm just too lazy and I don't want to map controls to an Xbox controller because I have like 50, I have like so many extra buttons.
Yeah, no, I get you. It's just like, Nintendo, we're more than willing to give you our money. You just have to put forth the like 5% effort to do so. Like, but they're not even giving like 5% effort.
Like I said, if Nintendo were to do something with Valve where they do that, and again, going back, Ben and I would be bankrupt.
Yeah,
I'd be like, I'm sorry, I can't pay rent this month. I gave it all to Nintendo because they finally listened.
Yeah, and you're running with probably like, don't worry about it. I'm doing the exact same thing as you.
Yeah.
But it's just baffling that like they're only just now figuring out that you should tie account names to game purchases on the virtual console. How long is it going to take them to figure out that you should probably have like high security password protection and stuff on your servers? Because if Nintendo ever gets hacked, holy shit, it's going to take them 5 years and a seance to get their servers back up and running.
I mean, admittedly, they also have taken some advantage of Humble Bundle. We have seen a few Nintendo-only Humble Bundle packages.
Yeah, That's like giving a half-eaten banana to a homeless man. It's just like why? Like, you're not giving it any sort of actual substance. There's not enough there to feed that empty, devourous hunger that the poor man feels, and yet you're going to continue walking on as though you've done right by yourself.
Yeah. But I mean, again, you would get the games on Humble Bundle, and you'd still have to plug in a code to your 3DS or your Wii U.
Exactly.
So again, if you own those, great. You're not going to play them on PC.
Yep.
So Nintendo is still they're still sticking to their console and console only, which, I don't know what they're thinking, but I'm afraid that they keep doing that. They're going to eventually be left further behind.
Yeah, and like the further behind they get, when they eventually are like, it's going to eventually come to a point where one of two things happens. One, they can't make consoles anymore, and then have to do what Sega's doing and license their games on Sony and Microsoft and Valve. Or two, they continue trying making consoles and are going to have to spend so much money but basically getting people to come in and make a virtual console market, like a purchasing market for them to do. It's going to cost them literally tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, and then they're going to go bankrupt in the process and then go out of business. Because the longer they keep putting it off, the more expensive it's going to be.
So, but we'll see what comes of that. All right, so we've ranted for a good 40 minutes.
Only 40?
Yeah, just about. Well, there's more to come. You started to talk about the whole legal bullshit that Nintendo is trying to pull, and that is going to probably be the bulk of our discussion for the second half.
Yeah.
So we'll have some music. And
it will be actual music. We promise it's just not more ranting.
Yeah, it's just some music. It's again, yeah. We haven't gotten to our peak in Lewis Black, so
yeah,
maybe on the second half. But for now, you are listening to Downloadable Content, us talking about, asking, what the fuck, Nintendo? We'll be back. Welcome back to Downloadable Content. Ron and I are still here. We have not stormed off to Seattle to burn down Nintendo of America. We haven't
gotten a plane ticket to Tokyo yet.
We haven't hung Reggie in effigy, or burn him in effigy, I should say.
We haven't burned an effigy to appease the video gaming gods to finally let us have a good Nintendo, or to banish whatever technological spirit or demon is preventing them from coming into the 21st century.
We have not offered a burnt sacrifice of a Goomba to Iwata, nothing like that. So,
yeah.
So, still here, but we're going to dive back into the discussion on the What the Fuck Nintendo. Ron started to talk about it in the first half before I gently steered him back so that we would actually have something to talk about in the second half, and that was the legal fuckery that Nintendo has decided to get themselves involved in recent months. Now, before we get into the meat of this discussion, I just want to say right out that Nintendo is very well within its right to defend its own copyright.
We're not arguing that point. Like, they are more than exactly. They're within their right to defend their copyright. They're more within the right to defend their intellectual property.
Absolutely, that's that.
Because that is American law. You can defend your intellectual property as much as you can for all the good and bad that comes with it. And in this country, in the United States especially, the idea of fair use is just so. Courts don't even know what the hell to deal with it because it's such a vague legal standard as to what constitutes fair use. Anyway, so yes, and like welcome to U.S. law where everything's made up and they don't really matter.
Yep, thank you. Yes, it's copyright law. Whose line edition? So yes, just getting that out of the way before we get any sort of comments saying, yeah, but Nintendo has a right to defend it. We know that absolutely.
They are within their legal rights, and we understand that. We understand that's perfectly fine. They're well within to do it.
With that said,
what the fuck?
With that said, let's dive into the some of the more notable examples. Ron, you started to talk about AM2R.
Yes, I did. I saw this. I saw it pop up in my Facebook feed, like some Metroid 2 remake. I was like, oh, what's this? And then I went and I downloaded it because it was within the first 24 hours of when it came out. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. This is kind of fun. Literally within an hour of me downloading it, I'm watching a stream on Twitch where someone's playing it, and someone in the comments says, hey, the website got taken down. And I'm like, what? And I go and look, and sure enough, there's a little post saying the website's down for maintenance and generic not neutral, non-offensive general maintenance for stuff. And I'm like, oh, okay, so it's just down because they got spammed with the 5 billion downloads. Not actually that many, but probably somewhere 5 million would probably be more accurate. I wait, I continue playing. Hour later, someone again in the little chat comes up scrolling saying, hey, the site's back up, but you can't download it anymore. And go to the website, and sure enough, it says, hey, I made this thing. I wish you could download it, but you can't because I got a notice from Nintendo saying I have to pull this thing from the files and off of the main server I was hosting it on. And he pulled it off his main site, but he still had references to where you could get it, which was file sharing sites, Mediafire, or even straight torrenting it from other people. Within 48 hours after that, he got issued a DMCA by Nintendo saying you have to pull it, period, or else we're going to start actually pursuing legal action against you. And by legal action, they actually mean taking him to court and finding him and getting whatever money they can from him. Mind you, this was a game that he made and were distributed for free that was meant to be a fan remake of Metroid 2 because he really liked Metroid series as a whole, And there had been no port, there had been no update for Metroid 2 since it came out on the Game Boy in 1990. This is a game that has been left in literal forbid hell for 25 years before he spent his own time and money, hired artists and people to make music for him, and released the game as a free thing for people to enjoy if they never got a chance to play it on the original Game Boy. And let's be honest, more than likely 90% of people did not enjoy it when it first came out on the Game Boy, and then had to try and play it on an emulated Game Boy emulator, and then realize how terrible it is because holy shit, Game Boy Metroid is really hard.
Yeah, I have it, and yeah, that's a very, very, very difficult game. And as we just mentioned, again, no problem with Nintendo trying to go protecting its IP. That I have no problem with that. The thing that I had issue with is this was a free game, so
yes.
he was not making a penny off of this. So he
was not making any money off of it. He did say, if you liked what you see, you can donate money to me. This goes to paying the people that I paid to make the music and the artists and the graphics for it. Like that, he specifically said, like it wasn't even like a big banner or anything like that. It was like a little thing on the side that like were a bunch of like his like history of developing the game and like issues with doing so and integrating all the graphics and stuff like that. There's like a little header that says, hey, if you like what I'm doing and want to support it, you can donate money. That's all they had. It wasn't any big thing. It was on the side of his thing. His like little banners just like detailing like history and updates and development of the game. So in theory he could have been making money off of it. Which, okay, then you actually start getting legal issues, but when he released it, there wasn't anything being like, you must pay me $1 to play this. You could literally go onto his website, click download, waited 10 seconds for it to download, and then started playing it.
This also presents the issue because it wasn't just this game that got the legal hammer thrown down. Pokemon.
Yep. Was it Pokemon Uranium?
That was Pokemon Uranium, yes. Which, again, another fan-made game.
Fan-made? There was, again, Brian, you probably know more about, but I would assume there is no monetary involvement in terms of you having to pay money to play it?
I do not think so. This was a game that was in development by a fan for 9 years. It added 150 new fan-made species of Pokemon. The developer got multiple DMCA takedown notices.
Yep.
And they were again forced to stop developing. This came out in August.
Yeah, August 13th, 2016, and then AM2R was probably not long after that, I think. Or like a month or two before that.
So
I'm gonna look right now. August 6th, 2016.
Yep.
So like a week previously.
So same thing happened. And, again, no money being made on it, and Nintendo put the ban hammer down.
Yeah.
That is where I have the problem is that it's like, okay, Nintendo, the fan-made projects tell me that Nintendo is not satisfying their customers' itch for nostalgia.
Yeah.
At all.
It's like, it's not. And like, we're playing these games either for one or two reasons. One, nostalgia, or two, a fresh take on an IP that Nintendo itself has not attempted. Or in the case of Metroid.
Which I can understand completely with Metroid, because Nintendo has basically...
Yeah. Said fuck you to the Metroid. Again, I mentioned this on a previous episode. Nintendo's big three is Mario, Zelda, Pokemon. Whereas in America, Nintendo's big three is Mario, Zelda, Metroid. And
Pokemon also. I mean, Pokemon's huge.
Pokemon's 4. Like, Pokemon's basically big 4 instead of big 3 in Japan. And then it's like, we want to give you our money. We're more than willing to give you our money. Listen to the first half on how much we want to give you our money. And these fans have tapped into a market that you could easily do. Like, AM2R, you could easily do a Metroid 2 Return of Samus for the 3DS or for the Virtual Console and have it look and play almost exactly like Metroid Zero Mission. And we would still give you our money because it's the goddamn Metroid game. But no, you take the guy who paid people out of his own pocket to make this fan game, he released it for free, and then within 72 hours forced him to take it down on multiple DMCAs. And then for the Pokemon game, it's like, so it's a single player game, but you can play it online, just like and this was a game that was meant to be played on PC, basically. And it's just like, okay, cool. That means there's like 700, 800, 900 Pokemon in this game probably, because holy fuck, there's so many Pokemon. And you can play with your friends, you can play online, and you can play with anyone around the world. It will basically be the closest thing to a console Pokemon game. Which we've said for years. You want our money, you want us to buy a new console, make a console Pokemon game. And again, he would face force take it down because Nintendo did not like him taking that idea and putting it out there before they felt it was ready. When like it's more than possible. It's like based on rumors. Supposedly Game Freak, the people that make Pokemon, accidentally leaked that they're making a console Pokemon game for the Nintendo NX. No one knows if that's true or not. Because within 5 minutes of that story breaking, they said, "Oh no, it's not. It's no. Ignore the man behind the curtain. Ignore it. legal bullshit." And it's just like, Nintendo, what are you doing? We want to give you our money, and like the fans are obviously tapping into a market and trying to say to you, "Hey, we love this game or this franchise so much, we're spending our own money just to make a free game." To continue playing it, because you guys for some reason aren't tapping into it, and instead of going okay, here's an example of what someone did and then the developer doing something right by them. And I don't like, for all we have issued hate on this podcast about them, Capcom. Someone made a Mega Man versus Street Fighter. Like Mega Man fighting Street Fighter characters like Ryu, Chun-Li, Akuma, stuff like that.
Okay.
This was like 2010, 2011, something like that. I don't remember exactly when. He made it, and he released it. Within 24 hours, Capcom said, "That's cool. That's really, really cool. We're going to give our official Capcom brand on it, and then people can, and then put it on our servers so they can download it." The game... Like Capcom said, that's a really cool idea. And then instead of giving him DMCA, said no, that's congratulations, we really like that idea because it's playing the other two of our properties. And still kind of, at the time I think they ended up mixing it in with Street Fighter 4 and like gave him like Street Fighter 4 or something like that. And then they put it on their website, and it could be like, "Hey, here's this fan-made game that someone made that really likes our IPs. If you ever had this childhood dream of Mega Man shooting up Ryu and learning the Hadoken, then here's this game you can play."
2012.
Yeah.
2012, and yes, it was created by it was a fan game, and Capcom got wind of it and said, That's amazing. And
Probably one of the few things Capcom's done right within the past 5 years.
so that that is a rare example of not, we're not going to shit on Capcom for that. But
like Nintendo could do the exact same thing. Nintendo could go like, "Hey, that's a really cool idea. We're going to give you, the person who came up with the idea, some like Nintendo Metroid paraphernalia as thanks, and then maybe we work on an agreement with you where we actually give you and the people who made like the art and stuff for it
some money,
and then we're gonna put this in our virtual console store, and then for like 3DS and Wii U, and like for $5 you can play this on the virtual console store." That would be that would make them so much money, make Nintendo so much money. But instead, they just go, "No, bad idea, bad fan, bad," and whack him with the newspaper, and whack him with the rolled up DMCA papers.
And this also extends Nintendo's ironclad control over its IPs. Also extends to Let's Play YouTube videos.
Yeah, or reviews of their games in some cases.
Which, again, Nintendo, you're getting free fucking advertising. The people who are doing reviews or Let's Plays, these are people who love your game and want to share them.
They want to share that love, and they want to share this game with people to be like, "Hey, enjoy this game. I really like this game. You should enjoy this game too. Here's why you should enjoy this game. Please go out and support this developer and support this game so they can make more games like this." And what does Nintendo do?
No! Fuck you!
They tell YouTube and the person to pull down their Let's Plays and all the reviews.
Yep.
And be like constructive, and like even if the review is like a constructive criticism of being like, "Here's the good, here's what's not so good, here's what they could do better in the future releases. Overall, this is still a really good game. Go out and buy it and enjoy it." But instead, Nintendo goes, "No, fuck you, take those down because we don't want any sort of press on our games, whether it's good or bad, unless it's been bleached and purified by our righteous fire standards."
And, well, because... And Nintendo, the big reason why Nintendo was so up in arms about this was because they weren't making any money off of it.
Oh, yeah, because they want to make money off it, like they did with Nintendo Power. A lot of the Nintendo Power stuff, they were able to kind of control publication on in terms of the, who said what, and it was just as much a marketing ploy for their games as it was an actual games review service.
And speaking of Nintendo Power...
I forgot about this.
You forgot about this because this also happened over the summer. Somebody put up 100 or so back issues of Nintendo Power on the Internet Archive.
Yeah, so basically 1990 to 1999 probably the first
It was 145 issues dating back to 1988.
Yeah, so 12, 24, 36, 145 issues, you said?
Yep.
So 12 years, from 1988 to 2000, basically, roughly. Give or take.
So, somebody put up 145 issues at no cost because they were up on the Internet Archive.
Yeah.
And then, but Nintendo went, "Eh!"
Yeah, no.
Get rid of it.
We can make money off this still, get rid of it.
Yeah, no, I'm like, no, Nintendo, you're not selling those magazines anymore. You stopped Nintendo Power in 2012. You are not making a single fucking penny on these issues anymore. Also, it's on the Internet Archive. It's a free site.
It's literally the Internet Archive. The thing that is basically the Library of Congress for the Internet. What the hell do you think is going to happen? And also the fact that now that it's on the internet, it's more than likely never ever going to get off of it.
Because you can bet that somebody who was a big fan of Nintendo Power, and unfortunately
Downloaded them all.
And
downloaded them all, put them in a torrent file, and said, "Hey,
here you go.
The first 145 issues. It's in a torrent now. Go and download it." And now it's just like, look, they've downloaded. Now it's not even just that one person. It's like a torrent. It's like a virus. You're never ever going to get rid of it. You can only hope to contain it.
But yeah, Nintendo said that, hey, we have to protect our characters and our trademarks and other. You're not making these magazines anymore.
In theory, the only thing they can make money off of is the actual cartoons of the freaking, it was like Super Mario Adventures
Captain N.
and Captain N, and they had there was a comic book of Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past.
I mean, it said the same thing about the Metroid 2 fan game. The unapproved use of Nintendo's intellectual property can weaken our ability to protect and preserve it, or to possibly use it for new projects. Bullshit!
The only thing that could be a new project would be you compiling the comic book art of Captain N and Mario Brothers and Legend of Zelda into like a compilation of like Nintendo Power comic book issues of the past, and like have that come out as a PDF or a download or an actual hard copy book. That is the only reasonable thing I can think of that they could do. And I just go like, why? Like, I'm pretty sure those things already exist. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest if they do.
Okay. Going back to the Metroid thing. Nintendo, okay, until this year, Nintendo had not put out a new Metroid game in 6 years.
Yes. And this new Metroid game is shit.
Federation Force. When it was...
Go ahead and get the numbers off the sold.
Upon release in Japan in August 2016, Federation Force has sold less than 4,000 copies.
That's within the first week of sales, people. 4,000 copies. And it did about the exact same in America and EU. The Metroid fans voted with their wallet and they said, no, this is terrible. Fuck you. Give us Samus.
So, the fact that all of these fan-made games are being done and all this nostalgia is Nintendo is being so heavy-handed about this. Like, guys, there's a want here by your fans that you are not satisfying. Why not embrace it instead of just totally swatting everything down?
You don't have to embrace it fooling you as a new game. You could just do what Capcom did and said, hey, here's this fan-made game of a Metroid 2 remake. You can go and download it here if while we're still making air quotes here of a Metroid game. That if you don't like Federation Force, you can at least enjoy this remake of Metroid 2.
And it was funny because when all of this was going on last summer, Nintendo just throwing out DMCA notices like it was going out of style. Sega had managed to get a pot shot in, basically saying, yeah, all those Sonic things that all the fan stuff you're doing, yeah, keep doing it.
Yeah, like we're fine with it. Sure, we know we haven't done Sonic right. We're still trying to do right by the name. But hey, if you guys are doing something that we really like, then we're going to give you our Sega seal approval for however much that's worth. And it's just like, why, Nintendo? Why? We want to love you and give you our money, but you're just making it oh so hard to do so.
Well, and again, Nintendo has the right to protect their property, and Nintendo seems to be under the impression that, the reason why they're so reluctant for these fan projects to go online, to bring their games to a mobile, they're probably afraid that by doing so, it's going to dilute their product.
Which is so odd. I don't know why they think that.
I don't know what. Yeah, like what? Are you afraid of overexposure? I mean, the long and the. I mean, we are now in a time where the way we download, the way we consume video games, is so different than the way it was not even 5 years ago. I mean, the traditional ways of playing video games, which were, exclusively consoles or exclusively PC, and neither the twain shall meet.
Yeah,
that's gone now.
Yeah, the advent and the evolution of the internet just makes it so that you can easily download your game and play it on your hard drive on your console just as easily as you could download it and play it on your hard drive on your PC. The only difference really is just the wrapping, whether it's on your PC or whether it's on a console. And I feel like this whole what the fuck Nintendo issue goes all the way back to Nintendo's history, where for me personally, based on the history of Nintendo, I think they started messing up when they eventually broke off from Sony and decided not to put out the CD peripheral for the Super Nintendo. So Wayback Machine, like it's now 1995. Sega or Sony or Nintendo is currently king of the console market. They are currently in development of Nintendo 64 and are currently trying to decide whether they want to have it be a CD, this new format that is relatively untested. It's only really been used for publishing of like audio, like music and stuff like that for the first couple years, and it seems to be doing well there. But no one is really certain if that sort of technology can work for the storing and distributing of video games, when previously everything's been cartridge. It's always been on physical medias and physical memory that's easy to, like, almost instantaneous loading. There's no load times or anything like that. Load times are not a thing at this point in time. And Nintendo is currently working with Sony on trying to produce a CD peripheral that will plug into the back of the Super Nintendo, and also trying to decide on whether they want the Nintendo 64 to be a cartridge-based system or a CD-based system. And after much deliberation and hemming and hawing, they say, thanks but no thanks, Sony. We're going to be sticking with consoles, and we're not going to do the CD peripheral for the Super Nintendo either. And at the time, that was Nintendo's thinking, was that, hey, cartridges are still working for us just fine. Why would we want to try and experiment with this new hardware that's going to introduce loading times and introduce things that we believe are not going to be conducive to the video gameplay. And Sony said, no, we think that you're wrong. In fact, we think you're wrong so much, we're going to take this CD peripheral and make our own console with it.
Well, first they went to Sega after that.
Yeah,
because Nintendo kind of jilted them at the altar. Because they were getting ready to present
at E3, right?
Yeah, they were getting or some big gaming.
E3 or CEO, I think would be those two.
I forget it off the top of my head, but yeah, they were getting ready to present, and it was like at the last second, Nintendo was like, you know what? Actually, skip it.
Yeah, skip it. We're not going to continue with it. And then they went to Sega, and Sega at the time, which was still trying to compete and come up with the Sega Saturn?
Sega also basically looked at Sony and went, "Are you nuts?"
Yeah, and keep in mind too, for people that don't know, at this point in time, Sony was basically just Like they were just electronics. They were just TV. They were just music. They thought they were just trying to push their own CD peripherals. Like that this was them just trying to.
And the rest is history.
Yeah. And then Sony said, no, we think we have a good idea here. In fact, we think it's so good, we're going to risk our own money and invest into it. And then the Sony PlayStation was born. And then we see how that all turned up. So
yep.
And then the Nintendo 64 ended up being with almost immediately not only are games cheaper on the Sony PlayStation, but they're generally speaking better. And they were willing to take the issue of load time for the benefit of being able to have these better games and cheaper games compared to the cartridges for the Nintendo 64, which by that point in time, $50 at least.
Oh yeah, that's always been the standard. It was $50 was always until the I think it was like the last console generation. $50 was always the standard.
Yeah. Whereas for Sony, $40 for a lot of their games.
Between 40 and 50. They were not, trying to be budget friendly. That was basically the standard.
Yeah. But like 40, 50 was like the standard, but comparatively speaking, Nintendo's games only lasted 10 hours by that point in time. Whereas for a lot of the Sony ones, I felt like they lasted...
You could get away with a lot more on a disc because you had more room to work with.
Yeah.
And
compared to the cartridge.
Also, you have games like Final Fantasy 7, 8, and 9, which were multiple disc games.
Yeah. Like RPGs in general really benefited. Yeah. RPGs in general really benefited from switching from cartridge. So
yeah. For all
CD.
For all of the great RPGs that we got on Nintendo and Sega systems, the PlayStation just really next level right there.
Yeah.
So,
and then basically since then, I feel like Nintendo's been trying to play catch up and still trying to march to the beat of their own drum. The GameCube was them switching to disc media, but it wasn't an actual DVD. It was some like mini DVD, like half the size, and it was just like, what the hell is this? Like no other console is going to be able to play this. Hell, I can't even use this freaking thing as a CD player. And then they switched to the Wii, which was motion controls, which was an untapped market, which was, hey, really good idea. And like there's some physical therapy stuff in here that could be used for hospitals and stuff like that. Like that's really cool. But by this point in time, no third-party person has wanted to make a game for Nintendo, and then they all swore off of it because motion controls. Who the hell wants to mess with motion controls when we still can't even get the freaking PlayStation Eye and Microsoft Kinect to work for us? And then now we're where we're at with the Wii U, and Nintendo still feeling like they've got their head in a burrow and just not wanting to do anything.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo obviously thinks they know better, and they're afraid that with all of these fan projects and Let's Play videos, they fear that it's going to diminish the value of their product. But to me, it just kind of reeks of Nintendo, get the fuck off your high horse.
Yeah, like for some reason, I get the feeling that Nintendo doesn't see the fan as a good thing. If anything, they just see them as just
dollars.
A dollar sign, yeah. Whereas Sony and now Microsoft are starting to realize that, hey, fan loyalty and fan longevity can be just as much money, if not more so, than trying to tap into some new and unreached market.
So, I think Nintendo should really, pay a little bit more attention to, what their fans want. It's very clear that people still want to throw money at Nintendo, but Nintendo is making it very, very hard to do so.
And I think if we want to like boil down our solutions or ideas for Nintendo, it's work with people to develop your virtual console market, whether that means getting more games on there or having it be that you can have these games on like the Wii U or like iOS and Android devices and tablets. Working with your fans to be like, hey, if somebody makes something like Metroid 2 remake, they can be like, oh, that's a really cool idea. We're going to promote it and be like, maybe tie in some sort of like little wink, wink, nudge, nudge, nod to some of our games. Working on a cloud service so you can do like Nintendo legal emulation, like you said, on PCs and Android devices and iOS devices and tablets.
Yep.
To have it be like a Nintendo archive for games that you want to play.
Or again, there is Steam.
Yeah. There's still Steam. You could just go to Steam and just like go to Valve and be like, hey, let's write up a contract and just be like, here's a Nintendo like library of games that you could do, and here's like our contract of what we're hoping to get out of it, and we're looking to get like pennies on like 20 or 30% is going to you guys, and then the rest goes to us. And Valve would more than likely just be like, sure, fine, whatever, where do we sign? And I just like, but they don't seem to get that because they just don't seem to. They really just seem out of touch with modern day times. They don't seem to want to like evolve, I guess would be the best description I can think of.
So, I mean, now we are all wondering what the hell Nintendo is going to do with the NX, and it's like, all right, now it's kind of reaching the point where it's like, all right, what gimmick are you going to try to pull this time? And
yeah.
I don't know. It just feels like Nintendo is the whole point of this episode. I mean, it just feels to me that Nintendo is still very, very stuck in its ways. And, you know, just they refuse to consider other avenues. Because for those of us who are in our 30s who grew up on Nintendo consoles, it's like, Nintendo, we love you. We want to see you do well. Stop making it hard. Because, as we mentioned almost an hour and a half ago, I don't own a Wii U because there's almost no games out for it to me to want to justify buying the system. And with its aggressive reactions to people trying to indulge the nostalgia itch, or even frickin' Let's Play videos, it's like, wow, Nintendo, I understand you want to protect your product, but if people aren't, or people making stuff for free, why does it bother you so much? But whatever, I'm hoping the attitude changes, and if not, well, then I think you mentioned it before, that Nintendo is eventually going to go the way of Sega, where it just makes games and no more consoles. And I think that's what, if Nintendo keeps doing the way it keeps doing what it's been doing, I think that's what's going to eventually happen, because people are going to be like, all right, all that goodwill that Nintendo has built up over the last 3 or 4 decades will be gone. Yeah.
And then this is going to be a case of them doing what Sony does, or Sega does, and just putting their games on Steam and then having to license them out on Microsoft and Sony consoles, and it's going to be down to Sony and Microsoft. And I think there being 3 major competitors would be the best thing for... Like 3 console competitors would be the best thing for the gaming market. If it boils down to 2, then it's just kind of be like,
In the meantime, Ron, I think we'll stick to the emulators.
Yeah.
So, which I do occasionally do that to scratch the itch. So,
yeah.
Do you have any additional thoughts, or are you good?
I'm good. I feel cleansed.
You feel cleansed. You feel relaxed.
Yeah.
We got the what the fuck are you doing, Nintendo? You stink bastard! Out of the way. Yeah. And so, if any of you out there on the wide world of the internet have any questions, comments, want to weigh in, disagree, what have you, defend Nintendo's honor if you so desire, go on to www.dlcpodcast.com. Give us feedback. All the episodes are there. All the episodes are on iTunes, YouTube, and Stitcher as well. Find future episodes. Let us know if you want in on an episode. Give us ideas for future episodes. So it's all there. www.dlcpodcast.com. So I think we're good for this particular episode. I feel a bit more relaxed now that we've gotten that off our chests. We can now, play the next, whatever. So, yeah. And by the way, welcome back. So, It remains for me to thank Ron, and Ron. With that, I am Brian. Have a good one, everybody.